He's definitely not a martyr, right? You know, Charlie Kirk is definitely not a martyr. Dude, it's just crazy to see this though. Look at all of this though. Look at this. Look at this. All these people celebrate.
The NFL.
So like, number one, right? This dumb bimbo here thinks he is not a martyr. He is definitely a martyr. When George Floyd could start so many riots, then Charlie was a 100% better person. Imagine how much he could do. When people think they have won, that's when they lost. Like I already said this already, like in my Charlie Kirk video. He chopped the head of a Hydra. Fucking 10 more will take its place. You know? It's just great.
Completely oblivious to the vigils hitting college campuses, with huge crowds even in New York City, as NASCAR races paid their respects. But also MLB games, as the New York Yankees had a moment of silence alongside the NFL, also honoring his life.
Bro, you know I gotta keep it PG-13 for fucking YouTube, so.
Then, we started seeing Spain paying their respects. Watches all the way in Australia.
It's crazy to see how much of an actual effect he had across the entire world. That's the crazy thing about it, is how much he had an effect on the entire world.
Signs for Charlie, with South Korean citizens singing, "We are Charlie Kirk." Where we all knew the assassination of Charlie Kirk was going to ignite American conservatives and moderates, but nobody could have imagined he would become the face of freedom for the entire planet.
That's crazy.
As at the UK's Unite the Kingdom march, which was reported as 110,000 people, but was more likely millions.
Damn.
This is the counter-revolution. There's been a globalist revolution for 20 years. We are the counter-revolution.
Oh, it's this guy. It's this freaking dude that likes that interviews people. That's crazy. I didn't know he went to the UK.
It's not going anywhere, mate.
Carrying posters of not only Charlie Kirk, but his entire family,
wow,
as they all rallied behind his memory.
To Charlie's family, we all pray for you, and we hope we honor his life.
Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. People who don't see that he is actually a martyr is, you know, they're just retarded at the end of the day. You just actually made, like, you literally made, like, the actual, like, I would say, like, the left side even more crazier. Because I've heard some things about the, you know, who they caught the dude, which we'll probably take a look at it right after this, but like, this kind of, like, makes, like, you know, people looking at the left side more mentally ill now. That's crazy.
So, of course, the left tried to make this about the spooky far-right.
What you're seeing here is probably the biggest far-right demonstration ever held in Britain. And I've been among this crowd, and I think it's obvious that many of the people here are wearing our flag as a badge of their own white identity. As a
bro, you're also white too. What? What's wrong with you? You're also white, bruh. I can never understand, to be honest, of these people who are like, just like say like, how dare they people hate multicultural, blah 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 blah. Anyone who dies, he doesn't identify as white. Don't worry, it's okay. You know, at the end of the day, he's already reaching his end of the line, unfortunately, which is facts is facts. You know. It's not even just like hating multicultural. The problem is that you're bringing people from, I guess you can say they are technically considered as third world countries, into a first world country, and them not adapting to the society and the rules and the regulations and how things work in a first world country, you know? That's the thing itself. It's just like they're not teaching them, they're not telling them like this is not what you're supposed to do. You can't do this, you can't do that. You know, you can't just start grabbing kids or so and then, you know, do whatever the fuck you want to do, you know? You can't do that, you know? I'm like, this is a first world country which you have to follow the law of just like everyone else. But the problem is, for some random apparent reason, we're just letting these people who are from a third world country kind of like basically letting it slide, because I guess because we're judging people by the color of their skins, I guess, instead of the actual like law they broke or so, or like, you know, or whatever, you know. And I'm just kind of like, no, that's not how it works here. They broke the law. They gotta go to jail. They gotta pay the crime, you know. Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know. What is that saying or so? Yeah. Pay the time or pay the crime or something. I don't fucking know. I don't even know. I know it's something like that, you know.
The hatred of our multicultural, multinational society.
But who knew the UK's far right was so diverse?
Erica Kerr, this is for you. We love you. We stand with you. We will always have.
Don't do the crime if you can't pay. If you can't do the time. Yeah, there you go. It's been a crazy week. It's been a hella crazy week. You know that for a fact. But hey, Natsuko. How you been, Natsuko? How you been?
Your back, and we love your husband, Charlie.
I have to come and support the event, uniting the whole country, bringing everybody together.
That's crazy. That there's more multiracial in these events compared to like the actual people who are like on the left side trying to spread hate and everything, like saying that like this is super white nationalist, this is super white blah 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 blah, we're a bunch of racists blah blah blah. I'm like, bro, there's literally a black guy on my screen right now talking about how he's supporting this, you know.
Bringing the four nations together, that's why I dress up and then come and support. I'll be integrated, so I have to respect the culture.
And notice how nobody was shouting down.
You hear that? Did you hear that last part? Hear that last part again.
Together, bringing the four nations together, that's why I dress up and then come and support. I'll be integrated, so I have to respect the culture.
And notice how nobody...
You hear that? You had to respect the culture. That's crazy, isn't it?
Was shouting down any of those
That's a guy who integrated themselves into first world country. So that's why.
Diverse conservatives, as they're all embracing Western culture and rejecting liberal tyranny. But nothing scares a political elite more than when the common man bands together against the ruling class. So they immediately went back to their same old tired playbook.
Women against the far right reject racist lies. Refugees are not to blame. We're not blaming refugees. We're blaming people who are breaking the law. That's what we're blaming it. If a migrant decides to break the law, we're gonna call him out on it. If someone from, I don't know, from the UK or from America breaks the law, we're gonna call it out. I just don't, dude. You know, it's funny because these women, like, these specific women want, like, a traditional kind of type of guy or so, but you want to know something? That traditional kind of guy is literally a Republican. Like, that's the craziest thing. That's not women logic, that's just stupidity. Yeah, it's just actual just stupidity in general. Like, they're like, at the end of the day, it's not just only women who do this, there's also guys who are also supporting this shit, because you want to know why? Is because they want to be able to tap that ass. That's the reason why. Because they know there's not a lot of, you know, there's just not a lot of freaking guys who go for this crazy stupidity shit, you know? Just like what Asmongold said, you know, that one girl or so who was into, like, you know, who's a little bit mentally ill, you know, talks about like feng shui, or not really feng shui, but like talks about like rocks and like space astrology or so, something about zodiac signs and like matching and all this other shit in general. Like if you don't are not compatible with me, you know, you're not my type of person, you know. It's basically like, you know, that one specific type of guy, you know, will try their damn hardest to try to get to her, you know. The witches, yeah, I didn't want to say it though because I taught witches back in ye old times, so I'm just saying. Ooh. Anyways, but yeah, overall, that's kind of like pretty much it though. It's just basically just desperate dudes who are just trying to get to them, you know.
This is what community looks like. Of protesters that mysteriously get these signs left behind by these mysterious figures, who they later discovered are funded by none other than their own tax dollars. Kinda interesting how the same exact thing was happening in the US until the Trump administration started tracing who was funding these riots, and they evaporated overnight. So of course, to offset millions of angry Englishmen, masked Antifa and Black Bloc had to make an appearance, chanting disgusting phrases.
This is for all the people that want to be here on our side.
Where their coppers initially admitted the problem areas weren't with the Unite the Kingdom marchers, but the Antifa idiots, to which the Met Police marched them right into each other, just so they could later state there was significant aggression directed at officers by the Unite the Kingdom protesters, but also turning off the replies.
I assume these people are the ones who are like basically the what's the best what is the best example? Isn't it those people from like what was happening in California, like those a bunch of like random people in masks or so and whatnot, or like, you know, basically like antagonizing the police and everything. Hey Rabbit, is that what this group is? Is that basically it? What the crazy people that are being like basically not influenced, whatchamacallit, what's it called again? Funded, there you go, funded by their the government or something, or certain
as the
parties,
mainstream
anyways.
Media rushed to echo those sentiments, stating far-right activists with clashes breaking out.
Marching through the streets of London, one of the largest right-wing demonstrations to take place in the UK in March.
You want to know something? I hate this terminology of right-wing and left-wing shit. I really do. I actually generally hate this stupid terminology because it's like, no, it's just a person who has a different opinion and who see things a little differently than you do. It doesn't mean they're on a right side or a far left side. It's just a person who has a different opinion. That's it, you know? It's like basically me and Natsuko, it's like, you know, we have different opinions, you know? Like, maybe I say something, she doesn't agree with me, but I'm like, I'm not gonna hate her for it. Like, why would I fucking hate her for it, you know? Fuck it, we became friends. Like we became friends, you know? We don't give a fuck about each other's like fucking like political stance or anything like that in general. Actually, to be honest, I don't really care about politics anyway, so it's just kind of like, you know, it's just like there are some things that I agree with her as well, and then there's some things she agrees with me, so it's just kind of like, you know, it is what it is, you know. So yeah, why can't we all be held diverse at, you know, democracy, liberty? It's because there's no giant bugs. That's the reason why.
Modern times, organized by the far-right anti-immigration activist Tommy Robinson. Close by, a much smaller counter-protest organized.
You want to know something? Look at the type of people that are in this specific group. It's just a bunch of old people. You know, these old people who are not very well informed. You know, remember that one video that we saw or so, where that one old lady was like basically like crying and everything like that? It's like, I don't understand what's happening and I'm scared. It's because they're taking advantage of the old people. That's the reason why. It's a pretty scummy, pretty scummy tactic in my personal opinion, but that's just me anyways.
By anti-racism activists.
I'm just really against racism.
So close at one point that right-wing marchers began throwing things at them and pushing police.
London's Metropolitan Police said a number of its officers were assaulted by the right-wing demonstrators, Dorica, and that 25 people were arrested.
It really seems like every single time they start to lose control, they revert back to the same exact plays. As in this enormous march across the UK, I didn't see a single incident of property damage, compared to neighboring France that had their own riots 4 days earlier, as it initially started with the French angry at their political leadership. But then, women carrying French flags were being attacked by those not, with the Block Everything protests beginning to build.
That's crazy. That's crazy. The lady just fucking, you know, basically just celebrating her own, you know?
But then...
And then you see some random woman or so just assaulting her.
By those not. With the
That's crazy.
Block Everything protests beginning to...
If I had one person who came up and assaults me for me waving the flag of my country, I know for a fact that person is definitely not gonna have any generation of kids. That's all I'm gonna say. I won't say anything else, but I know for a fact the family jewels will no longer be there. That's all I gotta say.
To build barricades in the street, making makeshift roadblocks to stop traffic. And then burning buses to stop the streets. As sadly, that wasn't the only place they used fire on the freeways. Are you serious? As they specifically burned a Korean restaurant, later attacking the responding French police with trash cans. But the mainstream media didn't seem to cover it like the Unite the Kingdom rally, where they seem to make it more about pressure on the government and how it started online in far-right circles, but now happens to have left-wing groups. So when the left burns down entire sections of the city, they're protesters in Paris. But if the entire community marches against the establishment, that's the far-right clashing with the police. But they only classify you as far-right, so they can later call you a fascist. As they simultaneously encourage psychos online, they need to eliminate these evil fascists. But now, normal people no longer fear being called a fascist when they just murdered Charlie Kirk over allegedly being one, when all he was doing was having conversations and spreading the truth. And the more the left goes into overdrive trying to silence anybody that notices, the more the average citizen is finally saying no to their political violence. So as the calls for political violence have only amplified, people are now losing their jobs in neurology at universities. Microsoft is combing through their ranks to do the same, and even American Airlines is firing pilots who think it's okay.
American Airlines reported grounds and removes from service pilots who celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see how a lot of people were actually celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. It's like, these people are not mentally well for these people actually celebrating that shit. Funny enough about it, we'll be talking about a studio who decided a couple developers think it's pretty ha 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 he 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 kind of situation to talk about Charlie Kirk's death or so, you know? It's like, dude, just because you didn't agree with a lot of his takes, it doesn't mean, you know, that you have to celebrate his death, you know? I saw the video not to go. I actually saw the actual assassination video.
Okay to celebrate murder, as we're seeing a turning point not only in the US, with Americans making it their mission to dish out content.
It's very funny and ironic that the most important and iconic people on the left were all educated in some sort of high-level institutional Mao, so basically universities. Yeah. Take care, easy mushroom. The worst thing about today's society is people should be able to trust the media, but they can't because the media is bought. Yeah. The problem is I don't really follow any media in general on TV, because they like to, you know, skew the story a little bit, you know, as in like basically blaming the right, quotation marks, the right, of them being like as racist people, you know.
consequences, but now conservatives worldwide are rallying behind Charlie, as the left didn't even think he'd be seen as a martyr, but now Charlie's known globally
same as
as
well.
the face of finally fighting back. So if you appreciate my concise, sometimes
that's crazy. Yeah, speaking on the same topic as well, they did say that the shooter was actually caught. I caught a glimpse of it, of the actual video. Yeah, it's this one right here. So apparently they caught him. So, you know, but I didn't want to make a video on it back then or so. Well, it happened over my day off, of course, you know, but I do want to see and take a look at it to see what the whole rundown is, you know. His dad turned him in. Damn, that's crazy. Wait. You're telling me that he told his dad what he did?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. It has recently come to my attention that as of an hour ago, Tyler Robinson, the shooter of Charlie Kirk's roommate and partner, has come out to the FBI. And his basic...
Tyler Robinson's roommate who tipped off the FBI is identified as the family refuses to deny transgender motive for Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Snitched on the guy. Apparently, the FBI has identified Tyler Robinson's boyfriend as some kind of transgender.
Tyler Robinson was gay? Okay.
Furry, who possibly aided and abetted Tyler Robinson in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably going to be the last video I'm making on the subject. Probably not. I don't know. You know, as I've been covering this case, talking about the story in real time, there's been a lot of people calling me all kinds of slurs, pulling up to my DMs, commenting nasty, vile, heinous comments like, you know, he would have laughed talking about Charlie if it were you who died on the stage, who got shot in the neck, and would have said you had it coming, right? Well, you're actually just a cowardly Republican that can't admit you're conservative, so you call yourself a centrist, so maybe not. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the types of people apparently that I'm making content for. Like, I wasn't aware people like this viewed my content. I promise you, no respectable commentator, political or otherwise, or anybody with basic human decency would laugh at anybody being shot in the neck on stage in front of their wife and kids. But these are apparently the psychos who are out here walking amongst us individuals unsuspectingly.
I'm telling you, man, I have this great idea that can go really hard as a TV show, okay? So like, this is my idea, right? So we grab all the crazy people, right? You put them on an island, right? Like you put all the crazy people on an island, right? Have them be on the island, right? But in order for them to leave out of the island, they have to find a way to work with each other to get off the island to go back to their mainland, which is, I assume, America. So it'd be America. So they go back to America, right? We just put all the crazy people on there. Just set up cameras or so, you know, so you just capture the live action to see what happens, what they're gonna do. You know, either they'll be able to get off the island or not get off the island, you know? I'm telling you, man, it would go really hard as an actual reality TV show, you know? I'm just saying, you know? And I'll be honest with you, at least society will get back to normal, at least for, you know, at least there won't be any issues in America, at least, you know, with, if you take all the crazy people, just take all of the crazy people and just put them there. They would all starve or become Republican. That would probably go south fast. No, wouldn't it? It'd be the best reality TV show you'll ever watch in your entire life, man. Dude, I would totally watch it if you guys managed to do that. I doubt it though, but you know. But if this was the terms of the void, if this was under the playground of where the void is at, we would totally do this 100%.
Just don't get it. I wouldn't wish that type of death on my worst enemy, dying like that in front of his own family in such a manner as that. But I guess I'm just different. My morals are different.
But unfortunately, we can't do that here in your guys' dimension. So we gotta follow the rules what you guys decide to set up. So we can't do what we want to do. So, yeah.
You can see the supposed transgender furry partner of the shooter, Tyler Robinson.
Wait. That's the lover? Wait, this is the lover? This is the person who tipped off the FBI? A transgender furry, dude. It's always the goddamn furry. God damn it, man. We always circle back to the goddamn furries, man. Honestly, look, man. Furry community, you gotta set your shit right, dude. You guys are not looking great. Like, you might be the first one to go on that island. That's all I gotta say. You guys might be the first ones to go on that island, you know? Jesus Christ.
Which pretty much lines up with everything else I was talking about in previous videos. The reference to femboy notices.
Yeah, well, apparently it's what the fuck? The bullet casing found in Tyler Robinson's weapon used to kill Charlie Kirk had various messages described. Notices bulges. Oh, woo. What's this? Oh God, they used that meme? No, notices your bulgy wolgy. Oh my God, dude, no fucking hey, fascist, catch. Oh, hello, Bella Ciao. I have no idea what that is. If you read this, you are gay, Lamau. Dude, this is like literally like internet lingo. Like this is like you would read this in like some kind of forum or something like that, like on Facebook or like in a video game or like, you know, like it's a song from Money Heist. Oh, I see. It's not a guy transitioning. It's not a guy transitioning to a female. It's just literally a femboy. That's it. Well, I don't know at this point, but notice it. But notice this bulges. Oh, whoa, what's this? That's a femboy. That's literally a femboy term. That is literally straight up a femboy term.
Bulges, ooh woo, what's this? Apparently that's linked to femboy, trans lingo for, you know, guys who are into that type of stuff. As stated in
No, it's not a femboy. Is femboy a trans thing? I thought femboy was its own thing. I thought it was not associated to trans thing. It's just literally just like guys who likes to dress up in female outfits or just looks very feminine. I don't fucking know, to be honest. I don't know. My knowledge of femboy is usually traps or so from anime, so that's about it.
Last night's video, I was speculating and theorizing that the shooter Tyler may have had a femboy furry type boyfriend or partner, you know, based off of the.
It used to be its own thing till the trans community took it. Man, I feel sorry for femboys, to be honest. That's crazy. And I still think like there are some good looking femboys. Like there are like I would smash like 100%, you know? Well, it doesn't necessarily has to be gay. Plenty of femboys are straight, but the trans cult loves to blanket them. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing itself. Because I know that there are some femboys that are not gay. You know, I know there's some that are straight, but they just like, you know, they just like take care of themselves. You know, like very fucking well, to be honest. Makes me a little bit jealous, in my personal opinion.
The evidence I was reporting at the time, and as of now, it is just.
Well, there's a thing called a trap or so. That's literally a guy who dresses up as a female. So. You know, because they either look very feminine or so. That's pretty much about it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just coming from my language or so, from anime. That's it, you know? So that's what I think. Besides, traps and femboys are the best.
As according
anyway,
to the New York Post, they say Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin Tyler Robinson lived with transgender partner. Charlie Kirk's.
Oh, so it is a transgender person. So it's not a femboy, it's a transgender person. Okay, so it is a guy who's transitioning over to a female. There you go.
Assassin Tyler Robinson was living with a transgender.
Well, too bad. I said trap and I say trap. I like traps and that's pretty much it, okay?
Partner who was in the process of transitioning from male to female. A law enforcement source confirmed to the Post Saturday. That individual, who has yet to be publicly identified by the authorities, is now fully cooperating with the FBI on its investigation.
Yeah, but he's a femboy though. I remember the Guilty Gear controversy. Literally the dude is a trap. Like it's a straight up, like the dude is straight up a trap, you know? Or a femboy, or whatever you want to call it. I just call it a trap at the end of the day because it literally looks like, you know, looks like a girl, but it's actually a dude.
Into the fatal shooting of the conservative activist, the source added. The relationship was first reported by Fox News' Brooks Singman on Twitter. Credit to Brooks Singman. She was the one to break the story on Twitter. Shout out to her.
I don't give a fucking shit what the fucking translation people have to say. I don't give a fuck what they have to say. That's the reason why I learned like some of the Japanese language, because I know where the actual origin of what they're saying. Like there's some words that I can like pick out and be like, oh, they mean this, oh, they mean that, but the fucking the translation or so doesn't equal to that, you know?
According to public records, Lance Twiggs, 22, which is the partner currently transitioning and is also a furry, resided at the same address where Robinson lived. A relative of Twiggs confirmed to the Post Saturday that, and I quote, yes, they were roommates, unquote. And here, as we can see, is a image of the 22-year-old Lance Twiggs. I also found his TikTok page, by the way.
Oh, is this the trans dude?
Which I'm going to show you now. Here, as we can see, before it obviously gets wiped, his TikTok page by the name of Lance Lodel. So I'm quickly just going to be going through the videos he has on his TikTok page before they get wiped. As you can see, just random content here. Somebody says, so the far right theory just got shattered. Here we have another video. Top comment says, hey, can we get a comment about Tyler's political motivations? And here's another video of him.
I got one of those cookie boxes, but here's the magic part. Watch this. There are actually cookies inside of here, and I've never seen that in my life.
Somebody said in the top comment, did Tyler, quote, notice your bulge? I'm pretty sure they noticed a lot of bulges. Here's another video here. I'm not sure who this is. Is that Tyler in the back? Not entirely sure. So, okay. So it's clear as day that this is Tyler's boyfriend who, based off of what I've heard, he was living in his parents' house and he decided to move in with his boyfriend. And I suppose during all that time, the boyfriend decided to try and transition into a woman via hormone replacement therapy. And reportedly, Tyler was going back and forth, kind of bouncing back and forth between the roommate, who I suppose was living with other people, of which we just saw in that other video, and bouncing back to his parents, back and forth. You know, young people do this all the time. And somehow, some way, according to reports, Tyler, although he came from a Utah-based conservative family who has supported Trump in the past, during his sophomore year, which is 10th grade of high school, he started to become increasingly radicalized towards left-wing ideology. He started becoming incredibly left-wing. And again,
I wonder why. I wonder who actually made him actually think that way. I could take one good guess because of Asmongold's video that we saw a while back, you know? I can take a real good guess.
Distinction, not liberal, not even moderate left, like extremely left-wing, consuming lots of, dare I say, violent revolutionary rhetoric that can lead someone like Tyler Robinson, who—
No. I'm talking about like online in general, as in like Reddit, Twitter, you know, all that stuff, you know.
RDC cash,
Hey, Dubstep, thank you for the 21 months.
Cash.
Was also suspected to be slightly autistic as well, to committing heinous crimes against people who are on the opposite side. As we all know, Charlie Kirk did not believe in the concept of transgenderism. He didn't believe in trans. He only believed in either being male or female. So obviously for a person—
Yeah. I'm like, even I believe there's only like two genders at the end of the day. Male and female. That's it. Now, if you guys had fudas, that'd be a different story. Anyways. But yeah, it's just there's only male and female. That's it, you know. As a furry, I blame the furries. I'm alien. It's time to ship you back to your country then. Sus, what do you mean, Natsuko? Shut up, Natsuko. We don't want to talk about what we do every single night, do we? I'll talk about it in here. I swear to God. Don't make me talk about it. I'll talk about it. Anyways. Wow, Ko is so far, right? Now, if there's fudas involved, it's a different story, you know?
Like Tyler Robinson, who was suspected to be slightly autistic and likely fell in love with a—
If fuda exists, Ko, joke's on you. I'm into that shit. Bro, I love fudas, bro. You wouldn't dare. I'd talk about everything.
a transgender furry person like this, of course, feelings and loves and emotions and the radicalization of left-wing ideology would likely lead to him
I always give the BBC to Natsuko every night.
plotting and committing heinous acts like assassinating Charlie Kirk, or anybody else for that matter, who would have been on that stage saying the same things as Charlie Kirk at the time. But Charlie Kirk being in that position, being—
No. Fuda is literally DNA of a girl who grows a penis. That is what it is in anime terms. That is a fuda, okay? You guys don't have that here because it doesn't fucking exist. Now, if it did, it'd be a different story. I'd be all over that shit. But you guys don't have that here because the logics in this dimension doesn't allow you to have that.
One of the most prolific political commentators on the right, below that of Trump, would be the prime target for someone like Tyler Robinson. But further in the article, they say the family member who asked not to be identified said Twigs, which was the partner, was the, and I quote, black sheep of their St. George, Utah family, but declined.
Because you want to know something? Because when the girl grows a penis in anime, right, in hentai, right, they still have their vagina part. That's why. That's the reason why you guys don't have fudas here. Okay? If you guys did, I'd be all over that shit. Okay? Like Christmas Eve when it comes to Christmas gifts.
To speculate on a romantic relationship between the two men, which tracks. Obviously, people like this, furries who are also transitioning with weird, extreme types of ideologies, are gonna be kind of black sheep in normal society. I mean, good God, guys, you gotta realize regular people, moderate people like myself, aren't fans of all the extreme rhetoric. People just want to make money, take care of their children, love their wives and girlfriends, survive, and pay bills. Like, I'm starting to genuinely realize that these people, these types of people who live in this extreme bubble, this echo chamber, don't realize that the majority of people, Americans or just regular people in the world, don't give a fuck about all this. Nobody wants to live in a world full of assassinations. Nobody wants.
It's funny how like all of these assassinations are literally just sick mentally people that are literally in their own bubble. Like, you know, as what like Asmongold says on Reddit, you know, where it's not being moderated properly. You know, they have these mods or so just as crazy as they are, you know? And then the same thing on Twitter too. Like these people say the most ridiculous things like on these social media platforms, but they're not taken seriously until it's like too late, you know? Like they'll say like, oh, you know, I'm gonna like for example, the gamer subs girl, that the cosplayer so that was basically like was caught or so and sent to jail. Like that's the best example to do that situation, you know? Because like you don't know if that's actually true or not, you know, at the end of the day, you know? Because like the moment you start giving consequences to these actual issues, these people who are like being this crazy, the problems will go away immediately. Like straight up. Once you actually start putting people into jail for these kinds of situations, like these threats, the problem will just disappear overnight really quickly, you know? I'm just saying, you know, I just don't understand why you guys in general aren't fixing this situation itself. Like I just don't get it, you know? You can really say nobody wants to live in a world with assassination because some people celebrate it.
Wants a war, man. People want peace. People want to just live free, peacefully, and have civil discourse and debate without the fear of getting shot in the head. They also say she said she didn't know her relatives' politics or whether Twigs was transitioning to become a woman, but added that it wouldn't surprise her. So clearly this family member, cousin, sister, aunt, mother, anybody, they revealed her gender, was not surprised by the fact that their own relative was going through this process. The family member said she knew Twigs was brought in for questioning by police. The Post observed Saturday that no one was at the $1,800 per month townhouse Robinson and Twigs were believed to have shared. So looks like whoever was living there abandoned ship. A neighbor claimed 2 weeks ago several people driving cars with out-of-state plates were seen going in and out. 7 cars. Sounds spooky. And I quote, "They did not give off a good vibe," the neighbor said. Sounds like, again, like I said in last night's video, higher forces of which I'm not aware of that I can't see. 7 cars sounds like some Black Ops type shit, I'm not gonna lie. Charlie Kirk, 31, was struck in the neck by a single bullet shortly after being posed a question on his, and I quote, American Comeback College tour, speaking about trans.
Damn, 31 years old. Oh my god. Wow. Still so young, such a baby. Damn, that's crazy. Your life just completely gone like that or so at the age of 31. Damn. Growing old and dying together old or so is a blessing and a half, to be honest, now these day and ages.
Gender mass shooters, which is very ironic given the situation. He said, and I quote,
I think a lot of the U.S. universities got cult and brainwashing. Crazy how the shooter was raised on right values, and when he went to university, it all changed. Yeah, it's literally when he went to university, that's what happens. Cause like they're still young. I'm like, let me see. So let me see. So mid-20s. So it'd be around 25 years old. So if he was going to university or college, that means he was probably in his early 20s, you know, mid to late 20s. So this guy, his brain was not even fully developed, you know, for mature, you know, like fully developed maturity, you know. And then his fucking perspective just got completely skewed, you know. There's an interview for his dad. I want to take a look at that, actually. I want to see that. If you got the link for that, I'd be willing to see that.
Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Asked attendee Hunter Kozak. So that question came from somebody asking Charlie. A lot. Charlie then responded back by saying, and I quote, "Too many." Then the questioner Kozak followed up by saying, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Then Charlie responded back by saying, "Counting or not counting gang violence." And then after that is when the shooter took his shot. Bang. And I swear, ladies and gentlemen, the irony of the entire situation involving a male to female transitioning furry who was also the boyfriend of the shooter, Tyler Robinson, speaks volumes.
Is this him? This is him, right? This is the guy? This is the guy that took Charlie Kirk's life? This is the dude? This is the jackass that decided to do that? That's crazy, to be honest, if that's actually him.
And for anybody watching this video who've gotten this far, who wants to keep living in delusion and just not accepting reality for what it is, then I don't know what.
I've met a couple transgender people, but I don't think I've ever seen, at least like through my interaction with them, I've never they've never been this crazy, you know, especially my I was gonna say VTuber mama. I mean VR chat mama. You know, my VR chat mama is a transgender from guy to girl. But she's like one of the most logical people I've ever like interacted with, you know? So I'm just saying. And I didn't even know that too. I didn't even know she was trans until like way later. Way later.
What else to say? You've seen all the content, you've seen all the videos, you've seen all the reports. At this point, I'm kind of like beating a dead horse. If you can't accept it for what it is and what the situation is, then I can't help you any further. You're beyond reproach. Pretty much a lost cause, you know? The article goes on to say that as a self-professed evangelical Christian, Kirk criticized the goals of the LGBTQ agenda, expressed opposition to same-sex marriages, and spoke out against gender reassignment surgeries and procedures, but he usually spoke about these issues with kindness and empathy.
What? He's against lesbian? Damn, man. Absurd. Crazy thing. Crazy. We can't eat the puss. This is very sad, chat. Very sad indeed.
Which tracks, because I've seen some of the videos. Like this clip right here of Charlie speaking to a gay young man struggling with his identity in politics.
I'm a gay conservative, and I just want to kind of ask you, like, what do you have to say for people like me who kind of feel like, I guess, it's kind of hard for gay conservatives because there's not a lot of us, so like, what do you have to say?
I don't give a fucking flying shit if you're gay or straight or bi or whatever the fuck. I don't give a fuck. I personally, I don't really care. Like, I personally don't care. As long as you're a cool person, you know, that's it, bro. Like, as long as, like, we can still have a chill time and a good, like, we can agree to disagree on certain shit. I don't give a flying, I personally don't care. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I don't care. I really don't care if you're gay, bi, fucking straight, or whatever other shenanigans that are out there. I don't personally care. As long as, like, you know, you respect my values, I respect your values at the end of the day. You respect me, I respect you. That's it.
Other gay people.
That's how I was raised.
You need to realize, like, they do have a choice.
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the conservative movement. I don't think you should introduce yourself just based on your your sexual attractions.
No, I agree. I like
because that's not who you are.
I like to be thought of as a person, and
for sure, you are a complete human being, and I'm sure you treat people well, and you're studying something. So I want to get away with this idea that you're gay anything. I just think that we have gone a long way in the negative direction in this country, where we act as if the most important part of your identity is what you do in the bedroom. It doesn't mean.
That's true. That's true. He's not wrong on top of that. Look, I believe only 2 genders. I don't believe people should be transgender. Either no hate, but you were born with what you have. I don't like same gender relationships either, but I don't hate anyone if I just don't agree with those things. Yeah, I'm like, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. That's like your own personal opinion. I have no problem if you want to suck dick, bro. You go ahead and suck dick. I don't. If you want to kiss the homies goodnight, go ahead, be my fucking guest, bro. I don't really care personally. Like, if you want to kiss your what's the opposite word for homies? Sisters? If you want to kiss your sisters, shit, man, be my guest. Fuck, man. I personally, I just generally just don't care. Like, I just personally don't give a fuck. Like, I like, as long as, like, you respect my point of view of things and the way how I was raised, I'll respect your point of view of things and the way how you were raised as well. I just don't care. For me personally, there was only been 2 genders. It's only, and the words that they use for those 2 genders is he and him, okay? Or his, Those were the words that you describe as a guy. And then for girls is her, she. I think that's pretty much it. I think so. So that's how you describe a female, and that's it. Like, that is literally how we straight up, like, grew up in general. Like, there's only been 2 genders, and that is it. I don't want my kid to come home from school and my child tells me, "Mama, is there more than like 2 genders?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck told you that?" And I'm like, "Oh, the teacher told me there's more than 2 genders and you're wrong and everything." I'm like, "Well, that fucking teacher's retarded." And that's it. I don't want my kid to start coming up into my goddamn house and start fucking speaking gibberish,
Not much to me, but if you ask from a perspective as a Christian, I don't agree with that lifestyle, but politics is about...
Yes, but look, if you take away... The only reason why, if you take away the lesbian stuff, that means you take the Yuri stuff away, And who the fuck wants to get rid of Yuri stuff in anime, bro? Come on, man. There's a correlation here, man. We want to keep the Yuri stuff, and if you take away the Yuri stuff, you're taking away the Fudas, and that's where I draw the line right there, chat. Okay, that's where I draw the line there. All right, you ain't taking my shit.
Addition and multiplication. I imagine you agree with a lot of what we talk about.
Absolutely.
Right? Strong borders, strong country, and for that, we welcome you into the conservative movement.
Thank you.
Now, after watching that, how could anyone sit here and honestly say that man deserved to die? And honestly, after the events that have been happening all week, I can safely say that I would never do what Charlie did. He's a much better man than I ever will be, because I'm not risking my lives to talk to freaks and weirdos who don't even want to have a debate or civil discourse with me, who when I die and get assassinated will cheer and laugh at me because we had differing opinions. Here's another clip of Charlie explaining his message and why he did what he did.
I go around universities and have challenging conversations, and because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted.
I'm surprised how that's even allowed on a college campus. The fucking campus Antifas. That's the craziest thing to hear that. To hear that in general being a thing, part of, like, colleges and colleges and like university things. I've never heard of anything like that in my entire life. I've never heard of a group called Antifas in my entire life. No, they really shouldn't. That feels like that's some kind of like terrorist shit. I feel like the word Antifa group sounds like a terrorist group, to be honest.
Publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in all this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put it on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens. Because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Honestly, all I'll say is, man, at the moment, I'm not feeling good. And yeah, this is probably gonna be the last video on this specific topic I'll be talking about, because pretty much the motive is clear. We get it. Tyler Robinson, gay, furry, trans boyfriend, understandable. Radical, revolutionary, left-wing ideology that was the polar opposite to that of Charlie Kirk. And because Charlie Kirk had a profound voice, millions of fans, global-wide attention, and even links to Trump, he was the prime target, and Tyler Robinson and others like him felt that he needed to be taken out. Simple as, really nothing more to the story. Unless
maybe Donald Trump should probably mark him as a terrorist group, to be honest. Take care, Tara. Be safe.
You know, you believe it goes beyond that into conspiracy theory territory, shadow organizations, people funding the whole operation, patsy type stuff, you know. But I don't want to get into all that, because I just feel like that's unnecessary and pointless. But ladies and gentlemen, feel free.
They basically are. That said, Antifa is a short term for anti-fascist. It was a group that was made during the late 1930s. The thing is, the groups are literally communist. Wait, really? Wait, are you telling me? Wait, you're telling me Antifa? So an Antifa group is literally just a communist group? That's crazy. Antifas are basically domestic terrorists. I feel like they should literally label that as an actual terrorist group. There's no shot. Are you really serious? Hold on, let me see. I don't know. I doubt it's gonna show here, but we'll give it a try though. There's no shot, right? The historical to modern, the German was founded in 1932 by the Communist Party of Germany. Well, this original organization was communist. The modern Antifa movement is a broader, decentralized network with a diverse leftist and anti-authoritarian ideology. Yeah, but it comes from that history though. That's crazy. While the communists are involved in the movement, also includes anarchists, socialists, and other left-wing anti-capitalist, the anti-authoritarian individuals. Not the same as a Democratic Party, Antifa is not aligned with the Democratic Party, and its anti-capitalist stances often puts the outside of traditional liberal conservative spectrums. Yeah, that's interesting. That's crazy to see that. I thought it would probably give me some obscure like answer. I'm being skeptical on that one, so.
Free to let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. What do you think about this entire situation? Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. It's sad to see that you were a victim of political violence, knowing that all you tried to do was talk to these people and have civil discourse, debate, be respectful, and try to come to some type of common ground with people, with your ideas. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today's video, and I'll catch all of you in the next one.
That's crazy, though.
393 spoilers.
That's crazy.
Ding dong.
That's crazy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
To hear that this person here decided to assassinate someone because they pretty much brainwashed this guy. He's like basically like he basically was a sleeper agent, you know. There were anarchist factions in the Russian and Spanish Civil War. Not a very prevalent ideology over history. Only thing I got wrong was late. It was early 1930s. It's still kind of crazy. So they finally caught this guy. I heard that this guy is being put on death row now because of the situation itself. Apparently there was some interview too as well with the father as well. I don't know. I asked for the link or so, but I didn't get the link for it. So I guess we'll take a look at it next time. But yeah, overall that's kind of crazy how much Charlie Kirk has affected the entire world, to be honest, and basically made him as a martyr. Well, he was a martyr to begin with anyways. If you try to take him out, you know, he would become a martyr to begin with. So
the video fucked me up 2 days straight. I saw the close-up.
Oh yeah, I already saw it too as well. And to be honest, it's crazy. It's crazy to see how the people on the quote unquote right, I just say the people who are basically like logical. I'm gonna say the people who are logical literally are united as one under one cause because of one tragedy that happened, you know? Like literally a lot of people are united as one, which across the entire globe, which is the craziest thing about that. Compared to, you know, the other side, the weird group or so trying to cause issues and problems, you know? I've seen the UK and even South Korea in the streets for Kirk. Yeah, we saw the video for it too as well. Hey, Wicked. Which is probably the most craziest thing about it, that everyone's basically united as one, you know? And then compared to, I don't even want to say leftist, because like at that point you're kind of like generalizing and broadening the entire term for everybody or so. I'd be like I'm just gonna say the dumbasses anyways, who literally are, you know, rooting for this and thinking he's not a martyr or whatever, basically celebrating his death and everything. All I have to say is I hope your lineage ends where you're at, because for me personally, I prefer not to see those type of people procreate, because you want to know something? Because they'll probably also brainwash their kids. You know, that's the reason why. Because I would feel sorry for the kids growing up in that specific household with those mentalities. I would feel sorry for the child because they are literally getting brainwashed by their own parents who brought them into the world to become basically like them, you know? That's the only reason why. So I'd rather prefer not for them to procreate whatsoever and rather have them end at their lineage where they're at. And I think everyone would be a lot more happier, because then that would be that'd be less crazy people in your guys' world. If a left dude died the same way as Kirk, it would be as wrong. Yeah, of course. And I bet you no one on the right side would be celebrating on that issue either, too, as well, you know? It takes a situation like this to expose the evil people. I couldn't believe the amount of adults that publicly celebrated this man's death. Yeah. And I was also disappointed of a certain content creator too that we were watching, or so that we watch a certain content creator on here. I don't know if I want to consider actually continue watching it after this person was like literally open their mouth or so talking about the Charlie Kirk and labeling the guy as an evil bad person, you know. And I'm just kind of like, maybe you just should have shut your mouth and done your content instead, you know? In my personal opinion. Like, I've heard of some of Charlie Kirk's things or so, and I'm like, I've heard some of them. I'm like, it's not like, you know, it's not like I'm gonna get mad or anything about it, you know? It's just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, oh, okay, just, okay, okay. Like, I heard it from time to time, you know? I didn't want to say the name, so that's the reason why. But you already said the name anyways. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed on the content creator that he actually did that, but yeah, overall, that's pretty much it. I don't know if I even want to consider watching any more of their content because of that situation itself. So, yeah. Yeah, a certain musician as well that I wanted to work with was celebrating. I decided to reconsider working with him. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at the end of the day, because it's just kind of like, you know, because it's like, what happens if you have a disagreement with that person, you know? How crazy are they going to be, you know, against you, you know, of you just having a different opinion? I prefer not to work with these kinds of individuals. I'm like, why would I want to work with you? You know, you're just, number one, you're a liability for the company. And number two, if someone disagrees with you, you start going crazy for no apparent reason just because they have a different opinion of you. That makes no sense, you know? I'm not a fan of Kirk, but I can put that aside and say the whole thing is messed up. Yeah, it's just like there's some things I agree with him, and there's some things I don't agree with him. It's just how it is, you know. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I can see his point of view, you know, and then you know, and then I'd be like, okay, all right, it's just whatever, you know. It is what it is, you know. Like I have no problem, you know, if a guy wants to suck some dick or so, it's fucking 2025, you know. Do whatever you want, you know. Guy thinks another guy is attractive, shit, let them bang or so. A girl thinks another girl's attractive, then shit, let them bang too. Fuck, I don't give a fuck. It's not gonna affect me at the end of the day. It's not gonna change my life, you know. It's just like I don't care, you know. It doesn't consider me. It's none of my problems, you know. It's just whatever. Do whatever you fuck you want, you know. And then there's some people who are like, you know, who are against it. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. You can be against it, but you know, that's about it. You know, it's just your personal opinion at the end of the day. I'm just like, man, bro, do whatever you want to do at the end of the day, you know. Like I could personally care less, you know. So, but yeah. Anyways, that's like the only thing I like pretty much, you know, disagree on. It's just like, do whatever the fuck you want to do, you know. I'm like, I had a friend who was a lesbian, and I'm like, but she was like completely logical as fuck, and she joined, the last time I heard of her, she joined the military, and then that was the last thing I ever heard from her, and then that's pretty much it, you know. So yeah, so yeah, but I never had no problems with her whatsoever. No one had a problem with her, you know. So regardless of one thinks of his politics, he died as a martyr for free speech, and the retarded celebration of the internet activists cemented his status as a global icon. It's weird because it's all these people, like all these people who are online or so, are literally celebrating his death, and literally you can literally out them out, every single one of them who celebrated, you know, for his death. Especially that one dude in that one TikTok or so, that one blonde dude where everyone was ducking down, and the one guy was like, that one fucking blonde dude or so. It was just like, bro, what the fuck? What is wrong with you, bro? At that point, they should have put him in the padded room, to be honest. If he was thinking like that, to be honest, I would have personally taken that guy and put him in a padded room. But that's just me, anyways. But anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. Yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace, Mr. Charlie Kirk. You definitely united not just America, but the entire world. You united the entire world as one, which is something that only very few people can do. And that is a goal that a lot of people who are leaders and stuff like that would want to have that, you know? And he is the one that actually did it. Unfortunately, he had to pay the sacrifice for it to happen. Which is my condolences to, you know, his family and everything because of this issue, and his friends and his family, unfortunately, having to either witness it or heard about it or so. My condolences goes out to them, you know, specifically. But he did do it, though. He did reunite everybody under one banner. So I give it kudos to that, you know. Rest in peace, Mr. Charlie Kirk. You will not be forgotten. You will be missed, but you will never be forgotten because you will be forever in the history books. This will definitely go down in history as one of the greatest men who has ever lived in this generation. So I'm hoping there are 10 more that pop up in his footsteps and follow his footsteps, and still keeps pushing his message, you know, to everyone else, you know, and not have, you know, the conservatives still, you know, be afraid to talk about their opinions and stuff like that. I'm hoping this pushes them to speak even louder against them, you know. But yeah. Anyways, but that's just like I said, this is just my personal opinion, and that's the end of the video. And rest in peace, and peace.